All right, guys, this is lesson 1 from chapter 2. And here's our quick check. And then our essential question is, what happens when you add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers? That will be our focus here for the next couple weeks is looking at those ideas of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing with integers. Today, we'll focus on comparing and ordering integers, and then finding the absolute value of an integer. So let's start to look at lesson 1. So integers and absolute values. So we start off with a blank as a number less than 0. Hopefully we know that that's a negative number. And on the flip side, a number greater than 0 is a positive number. And then a set of integers can be written -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Or that ... means continues indefinitely. So we'll keep going forever this way. We'll keep going forever that way. 2 integers can be compared using an inequality sign containing this sign here, which we would say is less than, or this sign here, which we would say is greater than. All right, so example 1, write an integer for each situation, then identify its opposite and describe what it means. So 16 feet below the surface. We would say that that integer is -16, representing below the surface. And then the opposite of that is 16, and that would mean 16 feet above the surface. Here's a golf reference in part B, 5 strokes over par. That would mean you're +5, or just simply 5. The opposite then is -5, and that would be 5 strokes below par. All right, so the next piece. Numbers on opposite sides of 0 and the same distance from 0 have the same, what we call, absolute value. The symbol for absolute value is those 2 vertical bars on either side of the number. So we see those vertical bars, somewhat like parentheses or brackets, but they're just straight up and down. And then we put a number inside of it. And when we talk absolute value, guys, we're really talking about, as it says, the distance from 0. So when I talk the absolute value here of -4, the question is, how far is -4 from 0? Now we know it's to the left, but distance is always positive, so I don't care if it's to the left or the right. I'm just saying, how far is this -4 from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we say that the absolute value of -4 is 4. Now, -4 is 4 units from 0. If we had the absolute value, let's just do another one here. If I can erase something here. Let's see if I can erase. All right, so let's just do another one really quick. Let's say you had the absolute value of 7. All right, so here would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when we talk about the absolute value of 7, we're saying, how far is 7 from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'd say the absolute value of 7 is 7. All right, so when we look at an absolute value question, we deal with it with an addition problem. We've got the absolute value of 3 plus the absolute value of 6. So what we want to do is simplify that to say, okay, what is the absolute value of 3? Or -3, sorry. That is 3 units from 0. And what is the absolute value of 6? Well, that's 6 units from 0. So what we have is just simply 3 plus 6. And 3 plus 6 is 9. So write an integer for each situation, then identify its opposite. 2 inches less than normal would be -2. The opposite of it would be +2. And then we would say something like 2 inches more than normal. 13 degrees above average would be just 13 or +13. The opposite would be -13. And then we could say 13 degrees Fahrenheit below average. All right. So evaluate each expression if x equals 1/8 and y equals -3. So we're going to write this first one, 12 plus. Now we have the absolute value of y, which is -3. So that would be how we would start this thing. Now we're going to say, okay, what's the absolute value of -3? How far is -3 from 0? 1, 2, 3. So I'm really just going to treat this as 12 plus 3, which is 15. Here we've got x minus the absolute value of y. So x we said was 8 minus the absolute value of -3. Now we see this subtracting negatives. That generally means let's add, but what I need to do before that is evaluate my absolute value. So actually I'm doing 8 minus 3 because the absolute value of -3 is just 3. So that gets me just 5. Here we're going to take the absolute value, 2 times the absolute value of 8 plus 3 times the absolute value of -3. So let's get rid of our absolute values and replace them with parentheses. So the absolute value of 8 is 8. And the absolute value of -3 is 3. So let's simplify a little bit more. 2 times 8 is 16. 3 times 3 is 9. And 16 plus 9 is 25. Let's just do one more here. We've got 6 times y. So we'd say, or the absolute value of y, sorry. So 6 times the absolute value of -3. Again, let's change our absolute value to an integer. In this case, it's going to be just 3. And 6 times 3 is 18. All right, so your homework will have some integers and absolute value questions. We do have some less than or greater than questions, which hopefully we can handle here. 9 would be greater than 0. -4 is less than 4. 5 is equal to 5. 6 is greater than -6. And then we have some absolute value questions. And then evaluate similar to what we just did. Vocab. We got things that we saw here. Here's some math symbols. Inequality and absolute value, which we looked at. There's the key concept on absolute value. And that's it.